According to Franz Lanting, biodiversity starts in the distant past and it points toward the future. Merry morning and happy Tuesday, lovely people. Welcome to the I Care Tech Show. I am Mary Faith Satori, by the way, your host for today. And now is the time for us to listen to our beautiful, lovely guests as they will introduce themselves. Let's start or begin with Miss Danielle.
Hi, I'm Daniel from Harvard University.
Hi, I'm Zandra from Yale University.
Hi, I am Grace from Duke University.
Hi, I am Eliza from Stanford University.
Hi, I am Dumpel Eve from New York University.
Hi, I am Japsi Ramos from Oxford University.
Thank you so much, and once again, a warm welcome to all of you. So, our discussion for today will be about biodiversity and healthy society. To everyone, especially to our lovely viewers or listeners, let us assess ourselves after the show if we can define what biodiversity is, explain the impact of biodiversity on human population growth, and apply how we can protect our environment by knowing the signs of contamination. And now, we are going to start our interview for our lovely guests as they share their knowledge about all the questions that I'm going to ask them. To begin, let us hear from Miss Daniel to give an overview about our main topic.
I'm going to introduce to you the biodiversity and healthy society. So, it means that biodiversity plays a critical role for human health and well-being, economic prosperity, food safety, and security, and other important areas necessary for the individual and collective wellness of all human societies. Healthy ecosystems provide clean air, support food security, grant humans and wildlife access to fresh water, and support all of our livelihoods. And also, biodiversity is essential for the processes that support all the lives on Earth, and including humans. Without a wide range of animals, plants, and microorganisms, we cannot have the healthy ecosystems that we rely on to provide us with the air we breathe and the food we eat.
Wow! I'm grateful that you shared a refreshment on this subject, Miss Danielle, which made me think about the impact of biodiversity on human life. Among Earth's 1.9 million living species, humans are just one of many. Like all living organisms, we share similar mechanisms, physical environments or physical requirements, and limitations to growth. Our survival depends on the intricate web of interactions with Earth's diverse plant and animal species. Despite this interconnectedness, human population growth continues nonstop, placing increasing strain on the natural world. Our technological advancements, while bringing immense benefits, also carry significant environmental consequences. Human activities are rapidly displacing and destroying habitats, pushing countries or pushing countless species to the brink of extinction. The preservation of the natural environment and its species is not merely an option, but a necessity for our own survival. Fortunately, progress has been made in addressing environmental problems. Global education and environmental awareness are on the rise, fostering a growing sense of responsibility towards our planet. Collaboration between governments, industries, and the public is essential to implement sustainable practices and harmonize human activities with the natural world. I hope you listen, guys, because this is very significant in our daily lives for the sustainability of our world. To help you all feel more bright or knowledgeable in today's talk, I will be going to pass the virtual microphone to Miss Sandra for the question about what she can say to the human population growth.
Yes, Miss Faith. By the way, I'm so glad to be here on your show. And now let's talk about the human population growth. The growth of the human population has been remarkably swift in comparison to the other species over the past centuries. The growth has had a profound effect on both biodiversity and the general well-being of society. The consequences of this impact can be either advantageous or detrimental and are contingent upon variables such as the pace of the population growth, the consumption patterns of resources, and the extent of conservation initiatives.
A bunch of things for that. To specify, what are those positive impacts on biodiversity, Miss Sandra?
Yes, there are two positive impacts on biodiversity. First is the technological advances. A growing population can also drive innovation and technological advances that can help address environmental challenges and improve living standards. Next is the conservation efforts. A growing human population can lead to increased awareness of biodiversity and conservation efforts. Many individuals, organizations, and governments work to protect and restore ecosystem and species.
If we have the positive impacts, we also have the negative impacts. So, what are those, Miss Sandra?
Yes, that's correct, Miss Faith. If there is a positive impact on biodiversity, there's also a negative impact on biodiversity. First on the list is the habitat destruction. As the human population expands, there is an increased demand for land and resources, leading to the conversion of natural habitats into urban areas, agriculture, and infrastructure. This habitat destruction is a major driver of biodiversity loss. As we all know nowadays, it is too common to see in rural areas that a lot of infrastructure, houses, and more were built in those mountainous areas that weren't supposed to be there in the first place. The bigger the population, the more land we need to use and occupy, which can cause habitat loss, especially for animals. Next is the overexploitation of natural resources. Growing populations require more resources such as water, timber, fish, and minerals. Overharvesting and unsustainable resource extraction can lead to the depletion of these resources and harm ecosystem. Of course, when there is an increase in population, there is also an increase in the consumption of natural resources, including those aforementioned. If we can find a solution to the continuous growth of the population, we all know what will happen next. And there is a big possibility that there will not be enough resources for every one of us. Third is the pollution. Increased human activities result in higher levels of pollution, including air and water pollution, which can have detrimental effects on ecosystem and wildlife. Also, the human population growth is the primary cause of pollution because the more population the country has, the more pollution they can contribute, starting from their homes, like their garbage, chemical they are using at home, the transportation, factories, and more. Fourth is the climate change. The burning of fossil fuels and deforestation, driven in part by population growth, contributes to climate change. Climate change can disrupt ecosystem and threaten species that cannot adapt quickly enough. No doubt, human population growth is a major contributor to global warming, given that humans use fossil fuels to power their increasingly mechanized lifestyle. More people means more demand for oil, gas, and coal, and other fuels mined or drilled from below the Earth's surface that when burned spew enough carbon dioxide into the atmosphere to trap warm air inside like a greenhouse. That would be all, Miss Faith.
Explicit. So we have habitat destruction, overexploitation of natural resources, pollution, and climate change on the negative impacts on biodiversity. And how about balancing human needs and biodiversity, Miss?
To mitigate the negative impacts of human population growth on biodiversity and society, it is crucial to implement sustainable practices and policies such as first, the sustainable resource management, second, the conservation initiatives, third is the education and awareness, fourth is family planning. First, let's talk about the sustainable resource management. Implementing responsible resource management practices to ensure that natural resources are used efficiently and not overexploited. Second is the conservation initiatives, establishing protected areas, wildlife corridors, and conservation programs to safeguard biodiversity. Third is the education and awareness, promoting environmental education and awareness to encourage responsible consumption and conservation effort. Lastly, the family planning is the most important of all, providing access to family planning services and education to help manage population growth in a sustainable manner. That will be all, Miss Mary Faith. Thank you so much.
Wow, I will commend that for a concise and informative overview of the complex relationship between human population growth and its environmental and social impacts. Thank you for sharing, Miss Zandra. Whew. So, guys, it's getting heavier here for a moment like this. Just sit back, relax, as the Eye Care Talk Show will be back.
With a little help, we can make a big change. Now made from 100% recycled plastic.
Hello, lovely people. We are back to the Eye Care Talk Show. Hi, Miss Jeff G. We want to hear you about something. What have you learned about the population and destruction in our environment?
Thank you, Ms. Atari, for inviting me here in Iker Talk Show. Again, I am Jatsu Ramos, and this is what I can share about pollution and distractions in the environment. So, pollution and distractions in the environment are two crucial issues that the world's battling nowadays, adversely affecting both biodiversity and society. I know that all of us already have an idea of the different kinds of pollution and distractions in the environment. Technological and industrial processes led to the production of chemicals and byproducts that are harmful or toxic to living things. So some examples of these chemicals are acidic ions and pesticides, in which these chemicals or pollutants contributed to our global environmental pollution. So when these pollutants are released into the environment, they will contaminate water, air, and soil, making the survival of natural species impossible or difficult. Additionally, humans are also exposed to these pollutants and their toxic effects. So not just the natural species who are affected of the toxic effects of those pollutants, but as well as human beings.
So now, may I ask, what do you think is the destruction of the environment?
Thank you for that question, Ms. Satore. So human beings are the one who are doing the following destructions to the environment. So that means that we humans are also the one who are destroying our biodiversity. So first we have deforestation. So this deforestation means an action of cutting trees or clearing a wide area of trees, and this can lead to the habitat destruction. So habitat destruction means destroying the home of the different natural species. So next is the water, soil, and air pollution. So these are the examples of different kinds of pollution. So pollution could be the result of the irresponsible doings of individuals. Then we have the land degradation. So this refers to the deterioration and reduction in the quality and productivity of the land, often resulting from various human activities and natural processes. So the other distractions to the environment are improper waste segregation, mining, chemical pollution, and loss of biodiversity.
Thank you for that, Miss Jeffchi. So now I am going to ask you, what are the consequences are?
So basically, consequences is a result of certain action. So it could be a negative or a positive consequences. So those aforementioned distractions to the environment brought a negative consequences to the biodiversity and society. First, can lead to the extinction of plant and animal species. So the rate of plants, animals, and natural species will decrease or they will be gone. Second, they can harm human health through diseases, respiratory issues, and exposure to toxic substances. So just like what I've mentioned earlier, that not just the natural species who are affected to the toxic effect of those pollutants, but as well as human beings. Third, they can exacerbate climate change and contribute to global warming. So there would be a chance that the climate change and the global warming will become worse. Last, can cause food chain imbalances and have a cascading impact on biodiversity. To sum it up, these forms of environmental destruction have far-reaching consequences, including the loss of ecosystem services such as clean air and water, as well as the destabilization of Earth's climate. Thus, taking action or effective solution to this problem is very important. However, addressing pollution and destructions in the environment requires a concerted effort to implement sustainable and responsible practices, reduce resource consumption, and protect or restore natural habitats.
And again, thank you, Miss Jeffji, for sharing, and I can really relate to you. Now I'm going to ask Miss Praise, what are the thoughts about the destruction of habitat?
Thank you for the question, Miss Faith. The destruction of habitat stems from the human activities like altering water habitats and practicing unsustainable farming, causing disruption in the ecosystem, reducing biodiversity, and threatening the species. Additionally, overgrazing, allowing excessive number of domestic animals to consume vegetation and confined areas further deteriorates the land, leading to soil erosion and reduction in plant biodiversity. Collectively, these actions not only degrade habitats but also jeopardize the delicate equilibrium of ecosystem, threatening the survival of various species and their interdependent relationship within this environment. It's crucial to adopt sustainable practice to preserve and conserve natural habitats and maintain the delicate balance of ecosystem.
Well, thank you, Miss Praise, for sharing. So, the next one is for you, Miss Dimple. What is really an exploitation of animals and plants?
So thank you for that, Miss Faith. Modern technology facilitates the desire for exotic animals, plants, and their products. Advances in transportation and online platforms have made it easier for people to acquire and trade exotic animals, plants, and their products. For example, online marketplaces enable the sale of rare orchids or exotic reptiles to collectors around the world. Exotic species like primates, birds, and pets are exploited. Exotic species are often exploited for various purposes. Primates, such as monkeys, may be captured from their natural habitats and sold as pets, leading to their mistreatment and compromised welfare. Birds may be illegally trapped and sold for their vibrant feathers or used in the pet trade. Animals like elephants and tigers are killed for their body parts. Elephants are targeted for their ivory tusks, which are highly valued in illegal markets. Tigers are hunted for their skins, bones, and other body parts due to belief in their medicinal properties or as status symbols. Each exploited species negatively impacts its ecosystem and faces extinction risk. When a species is exploited, it can disrupt its ecosystem and threaten its survival. For example, overfishing of certain fish species like the Atlantic cod can lead to imbalances in marine ecosystem and the decline of other species that depend on them for food. Direct harvesting of plants for economic gain occurs without considering ecosystem effects. Some plants are harvested without considering the impact on the surrounding ecosystem. For instance, the collection of wild orchids for the floral industry can deplete population and disrupt pollination dynamics. Direct harvesting leads to reduced biodiversity and habitat destruction, such as with forest trees on mountains and tropical rainforests. This is unsustainable logging of trees in mountainous regions and tropical rainforests can result in habitat destruction and the loss of biodiversity. This can have cascading effects on other species and ecological processes. Global direct harvesting of exotic hardwoods contributes to habitat destruction and biodiversity loss. The demand for exotic hardwoods like teak or mahogany drives illegal logging and deforestation in tropical regions. This leads to the destruction of critical habitats for numerous plants and animal species, including the endangered ones. So that would be all, Miss Faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Dimple. You effectively highlight the interconnectedness of environmental problems and the urgency of adopting sustainable practices. I can really see how you got into NYU. Alright, so for Miss Daniel, can I ask something about the science of environmental contamination that you have studied recently as the president of the Student Council in Harvard University?
This means that environmental pollutants can cause health problems like respiratory diseases, heart disease, and some types of cancer. People with low incomes are more likely to live in polluted areas and have unsafe drinking water. And children and pregnant women are at higher risk of health problems related to pollution. A wide range of chemicals can contaminate water, land, or air, impacting the environment and our health. Most contaminants enter the environment from industrial and commercial facilities, oil and chemical spills, non-point sources such as roads, parking lots, and storm drains, and also wastewater treatment plants and sewage systems. Many hazardous waste sites and industrial facilities have been contaminated for decades and also have continued to affect the environment.
Thank you, Ms. Danielle. It effectively outlines the sources of contamination and the long-lasting impacts on both the environment and human health. The inclusion of specific examples and statistics further strengthens the argument. Now, here is my question or another question for you. Can you share about all the examples of hormone disrupting chemicals in agricultural runoff?
So, this means in examples of hormone disrupting chemicals in agricultural runoff that endocrine disruptors are constantly discharged into water through excretion, wastewater, treatment plants, landfills, runoff from agriculture and urban areas, industry and leaching of waste. The chemicals have ruined the natural system of our community, like animals, trees, and plants. So, we as humans are part of the society, and we should take action towards this issue and prevent such negative effects that could destroy our planet. It is just easy to stop. We just need to start and take action and become an example to everyone so that many would follow and our natural ecosystem will become more healthy and beautiful.
Wow. So clear and passionate call to action to address the issue of endocrine disruptors and protect our environment. I've learned so much from you, Miss Daniel. It is really a great opportunity to have interviewed you. Well, hello, Miss Eliza. How are you feeling?
Yes, Miss, I am fine and I'm really happy, especially now to have been invited into this show.
Well, thank you, Miss Eliza, for accepting the invitation. Now, many people are confused about consumption. Can you enlighten us or share what you know about consumption of energy?
Okay, Miss, what a great question. So again, I am Eliza Pino, and based on my research, world energy consumption is projected to increase almost 50% from 2020 levels by 2050. As global energy demand increases, it is essential for us to understand energy data so we can take actions to minimize the negative effects of energy production on our planet. With the majority of global energy production reliant on non-renewable energy sources like burning fossil fuels, climate change poses a serious threat to environmental stability. The burning of fossil fuels accounts for 83% of global energy creation and releases carbon dioxide, which increases the atmosphere's greenhouse effect, causing global warming and climate change. So the total world energy consumption is projected to reach 580 million terajoules in 2022. That is a significant increase from 1980 when the world used around 300 million terajoules of energy. So what is more, world energy consumption is expected to increase in the coming years. So while the global energy demand fell by about 1% in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is expected to have grown around 5% in 2021 and it could increase by 4% in 2022. By 2050, global energy use could increase to around 900 million terajoules. Growing demands for energy are all the more reason to begin focusing on clean and renewable energy solutions moving forward. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Miss Eliza, for sharing. We are really enlightened by your explanation. May others have that light beside them as we listen to what other thoughts are about for today. So stay tuned and be happy. The iCare Tech Show will be back.
Yes! Woo! Hey, great ice cream, oh!
Creamy aroma, num num. Now cream oh fight, real cream oh crumbles inside for more enjoyable break times. Try the new great taste cream oh coffee.
Well, hello again, lovely people. This is the iCare Talk Show. And now, I'm going to continue by asking you, Ms. Eliza, what are the main sources of world energy consumption, by the way?
Yes, Miss, what a wonderful question. So, globally, the primary source of energy generation comes from fossil fuel combustion, burning oil, coal, and gas. The majority of global energy still depends on these fossil fuels, which make up about 83% of total energy consumption annually. With such large proportion of energy created through the use of fossil fuels, excessive amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions can place a strain on Earth's natural carbon cycle. Out of the fuel types used for energy and industrial production, oil, coal, and gas alone were responsible for about 93% of those carbon emissions in 2020. Other sources in the energy mix come from renewable and clean energy sources. So a shift toward using sustainable energy can help minimize the effects of excessive carbon dioxide emissions on the globe. Hydropower leads in the renewable energy category, generating about 6.4% of all energy consumed in 2019. In the same year, other renewable energy sources include wind, which produce just over 2% of global energy, and solar, which accounted for just over 1%. So biofuels were responsible for about 0.7%. So those are the main sources of world energy consumption, Miss.
Thank you so much, Ms. Eliza, for sharing with us your message about all of its main sources. Well, and now my next question for Ms. Eliza again is, what happens when world energy consumption increases?
Yes, indeed, a great question, Miss. Actually, increasing energy demands around the world pose a threat to the climate if we continue to rely on fossil fuels for the majority of our energy needs. Currently, too much of the global energy created uses sources that emit carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. As long as this practice continues, the warming effect caused by increased greenhouse gases in our atmosphere will harm ecosystems, animals, and human life on Earth. Unfortunately, global energy demand is outpacing the growth of renewable energy generation. The best bet for protecting the climate is to continue focusing on clean and renewable sources so that we can provide a green solution to the increasing energy demands around the world. As soon as 2026, global renewable electricity capacity is expected to increase by 60% from its 2020 levels. These clean energy options could account for as much as 95% of all new global energy sources in 2026. Much of this energy will come in the form of solar power. As long as we continue to look for sustainable options to the increasing world energy demands, we can be sure that we are moving in the right direction. So it will happen if the world energy consumption increases.
Wow. Well, my last question for you is, how can we reduce world energy consumption?
Thanks, Miss. So, the best way to reduce world energy consumption is to take personal responsibility, and you need to start to become conscious about how much energy you use. So, another great option is to spread awareness about what areas in our day to day lives consume energy and inspire others to take action. So, it is easy to forget how much energy an individual can use daily, from driving to turning the lights on at home to the cost of heating water for your shower. So, you can reduce the amount of energy you consume by staying aware of what electricity you are using in your home. So, remember to turn off lights and unplug electronics that are not in use. Switch to energy efficient light bulbs and switch to electric powered water heaters, space heaters, and air conditioning. So consider panels as an option to power your home. So these options can help to reduce unnecessary electricity generation. So transportation is another sector that uses a good deal of energy. So if you are in the market for a new vehicle, consider switching to an electric car or hybrid. Otherwise, try to minimize the amount of time you spend driving. If you are in a position to walk or ride a bike instead, riding a bike instead. And other ways you can limit the amount of energy you consume is that by reducing the amount of time using electronics like your phone, watching TV, and playing video games. Minimizing your electricity consumption positively impacts the environment and decreases your carbon footprint. Another way you can make a difference for the good of the environment is that to explore renewable energy certificates that, when purchased, offset your electricity use by supporting clean energy projects like wind and solar farms. Alright, so that's all I know about consumption of energy. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Miss Eliza, for sharing or always answering my questions with honesty and sincerity. We really appreciate it. So now, let's proceed to Miss Jeffji. I have a question for you, ma'am. What are biodiversity laws in the Philippines?
Thank you for that wonderful question, Ms. Satore. So here are the laws of biodiversity implemented in the Philippines. So first, we have the Act number 2590. So this is an act for the protection of game and fish. RA 7308, an act to promote and develop the seed industry in the Philippines and create a national seed industry council and for other purposes. RA 7586, National Integrated Protected Area System Act of 1992. RA 7611, Strategic Environmental Plan for Palawan Act. RA 7900, the High Value Crops Developmental Act of 1995. RA 7942, the Philippine Mining Code. RA 8371, recognizing the rights of indigenous cultural communities or indigenous people. RA 9147, Wildlife Protection Act. RA 8485, promote animal welfare in the Philippines. PD 1433, Plant Quarantine Decree of 1978. PD 1586, Environmental Impact Statement System Law. The EO 192, Reorganization of the DENR. Proclamation number 926, establishing Subic Watershed Forest Reserve, and the DAO 02 is the establishing protection for ancestral homelands. So, Ms. Satare, those are the biodiversity laws implemented here in the Philippines. Disobeying the laws related to biodiversity can have serious consequences, both for individuals and for the environment. Biodiversity laws are typically in place to protect the variety of life on Earth, including the different species of plants, animals, and microorganisms, as well as the ecosystems they inhabit. Typically, violations related to biodiversity may result in fines, civil penalties, or other legal actions.
Thank you so much, Miss Jeffji. We've learned a lot now. What are the laws about biodiversity that we are not really familiar with? This helps us to be aware and spread awareness as well. Now I'm going to share something to all the six of you and also to all our viewers who are watching. I'm going to share about fossil fuels. Alright, so guys, fossil fuels are a non-renewable energy source that contribute to air pollution and global warming. When fossil fuels are burned, they release harmful chemicals into the atmosphere, such as sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. So these chemicals can react with water vapor to form acid rain, which can damage lakes and streams and harm fish they can harm fish and other wildlife. So fossil fuels also release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is a greenhouse gas that traps heat and contributes to global warming. In short, these are the dirty and dangerous energy source that we need to stop using. I hope you learned something, everyone. Just raise your voice against every act of harming the earth. There is no place to live other than earth, so let's save the earth. Thank you so much, Miss Danielle, Miss Zandra, Miss Jeffchi, Miss Dimple, Miss Eliza, and Miss Praise for sharing all of your knowledge with us. It is really an honor to have invited you here in our show. You all came from one of the greatest universities in the world, in the whole world, rather. And I am really blessed to have been able to interview you because you all are very smart, and I am so inspired to by all the things, by all the things that you have shared. So to all of you who is watching, may all those messages that they have shared will inspire you. Will inspire you more as part of this society. So goodbye and see you again soon, and this is the I Care Tech Show.